In these next set of slides, I am going to piece together some clues that many have not been able to figure out. So apparently there is another wonder that appears in the heavens, which is just another way to say outer space, that has the similarity of a red dragon. Now these are pictures that you can actually find on Google, but were apparently covered up by someone. I'm going to assume it was NASA, where a strange red image appears with what looks like two big eyes on it. It also lands around the same area where Jupiter comes from, the womb of Virgo, which fulfills the prophecy of where the red dragon was to devour the child as soon as it were born. But the thing that many people haven't figured out yet is that this red dragon is also reminiscent of what people call Planet X, or Nibiru. The legend of Nibiru states that it comes by every few thousand years and brings about a great destruction in its wake. And the reason that it takes so long to come by is that it is said to be on an elliptical orbit perpendicular to our solar system. There are many legends from ancient civilizations that speak of this, but I don't have time to go into. But what I find most fascinating is that just this year, a brand new solar system was announced that was incredibly only 40 light years away. This is extremely close to us. And interestingly enough, it also fits the exact description of the legend of Nibiru, namely that there is a red dragon, which we know as a red dwarf star, and follows with it 7 angels, or as we know as planets. You see, this is how the ancients kept and recorded their information, by describing them in a story-like form so that further generations would have an easy time remembering them. But unfortunately, after thousands of years, people have forgotten. They believed that they were only just stories, but now we can see that they were definitely not.
You remind me of the babe. Babe with the power.
Southern Fire. Aurora Australis, not to be confused with Aurora Borealis. Southern Hemisphere auroras. When the Maoris saw reds in the southern lights in the different aboriginal cultures, they associated with blood, fire, and death. KP index hitting 7 in this last solar storm, pushing all the way up to southern Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand. Turning the colors Technicolor, purple and blue. The greens got the reds in there as well. Highly, intensely charged. When you start to see blue auroras, that's as high as it gets outside of pure white, reaching up to the direct Birkeland current connection with our sun. They were so highly charged this last solar storm, just like it was back in the middle of April, that knocked down the power grids in the northern hemisphere. Now, something interesting with the Aboriginal culture's stories and traditions. Here we have a depiction of the 6 major Maori wooden god sticks. Notice the shapes. You got 6 different configurations. And interestingly, all of these same major myths are shared throughout Polynesia. So it was a collective memory of. And taking a look through the Ma Wangdui silk texts circa 2,300 years ago, they cataloged 16 different types of comets and also the effect on the Earth with these comets. So if this thing was produced in 300 BC, how long had they been observing these comets to finally get these records to even produce this information 2,300 years ago? You'll start to see the same configuration. We jump over to abrupt climate changes in the 14th century. Arrows were represented as comets bringing in some kind of plague. And nature's beauty going up into the high range of electrical phenomenon. Incredible. Take a look at this shot over Antarctica. They're using a fisheye wide-angle lens here. You can see the person at the bottom on the ice, and then it wraps all the way around. But look how clear the Milky Way is and how those auroras are pulling down straight onto what it looks like the ice cap in Antarctica. Now back to the Maori woodstick gods. Then we have the Mawangdui silk depictions, and then we have the 14th century abrupt climate change. There's just too much similarity in all these depictions of what might have been cometary bombardment to take it as just a myth. It's actually a true story that happened, cataloged with such devastating consequences that I put it in a myth so you and we would never forget it. Now during that same solar storm, Aurora is pushing as far south as North Dakota with this unusual kind of mountain shape on it. Ontario as well, but they had that upper blue, purple range, again highly, highly charged. When you see that intensive blue, That's KP8 index. Some great videos here with the Nome, North Dakota Aurora Borealis. Good videos on YouTube to check out. Amazing light displays in Calgary, Whistler. And then back at the same time in Antarctica, this is the type of aurora that we're coming down. It's kind of indescribable, this color mix here. It's hard to even tell what the density or saturation is. And again, we'll take you back to when the power grids went down on April 18th across the United States as well as parts of Europe and in Russia during that geomagnetic storm. These are the pictures that finally made their way to the internet of that same event on April 18th a month ago. And now we have another KP7 with intense blue aurora, strange lights in the sky. Our atmosphere is definitely changing with the onset of the grand solar minimum. The smaller CMEs or ejecta coming off of the sun is having a greater effect on our planet, and as our magnetosphere decreases even further in intensity, strength, the smaller flares are going to have just as intense of an effect. Look for it one day for a C-class flare to have the same effect on our planet as an X-class does.
How do you hit this thing?